Here it is, this is the show, and it's a show where you call in. Jimmy's already had a long day, and he hopes that somebody will call in and not be a total jerk. Actually, I don't care if they're a jerk as long as they're smart and their ideas are well thought out. And if you call in just to opine on nothing without justification, I'm going to make you look like a silly goose. Republicans are ruining this country. And that's, Democrats are helping also, and only mildly better. And we could have a better country if we actually tried, but we don't goddamn try. Welcome to the show. All right, let's find out if there's any audio things I got to solve here at the beginning, since I'm going from one show to the other. First of all, Forrest, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
But I don't hear you. Are you fucking with me?
Nope.
Okay, hang on. I'll fix it. Well, wait. No, that doesn't make any sense. Are you fucking with me?
I don't think so.
Okay, let me figure out. Why don't I hear you? It isn't you. I can see that your bars are moving, so it's something on my end. For some reason. Yeah, all right, you're good. Go ahead and talk now.
I can talk now?
Yeah, you're good.
All right.
How are you?
I'm all right. I'm still messing with every day is a different adventure in camera settings over here at Valkai Labs.
Yeah. That's fun though. It's fun. I think I want to do a new set. By the way, the phone number's on the screen, people. And if you'd like to argue, we are a couple of leftist atheists who believe that conservatism, MAGA, they are anti-freedom, they are pro-cancel culture. If you contend with that and you'd like to call and tell us why, you can call right now. The phone number there up on the screen, 33654-32101. 33654-32101. If you're watching right now and you have those friends who are like, hey, we want to get them on the air with somebody and see. I want to see if my friend who's always talking to me about blah, blah, blah is any good, is right, and can do it against the best, because that's what we are. We are the best.
Oh, I was going to say, is the best in the room with us? Did we bring them along?
Well, my stock has been brought down by your presence. How dare you? I just, the whole day, I got to tell you, this one's been one of those days. What was I saying before? I was saying call in. I don't know. Do stuff, people.
The call-in thing is happening. This is the show for you. If you believe in that MAGA is a thing that we should be, or that Donald Trump is anything else besides a grifting pedophilic cult leader, and that the country's on a good course because of his ridiculous ass leadership, or other stuff, science deniers, hit us up. I've been sitting here at this very spot, at this very desk for the past time writing a speech about evolution that I'm giving this week. I'm finishing up my presentation on that. So I literally just closed PowerPoint, opened the call-in thing, and I'm still just sitting out talking. I don't know I'm going to talk about this stuff.
At least you're in the middle of yours. I have to give a presentation this weekend for LineCon. By the way, y'all go to patreon.com/calltheline if you want to attend LineCon online live this Saturday. It's going to be myself, Arden Hart, and Justin Deconstruction Zone. He's going to be doing a presentation on Bible blunders. If you're going to want to attend that, that's this Saturday. You're going to want to go to patreon.com/calltheline for that. I haven't even figured out what my topic's going to be. I'm one of the presenters. I know. And you've at least started.
Jesse Jerdak's in the chat. He's going to be on the Hang Up with Matt Dillahunty. That'll be an interesting show.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
I'm
excited to see those. I also love Jesse. Jesse's just a fabulous person. The stream is going to be so much more handsome with him on it. But I'm excited to see the difference in styles there. With him just
there is a difference.
This giant Papa Bear who just wants to hug the caller, and you've got Matt next to him. It's going to be great.
I love Jesse, and definitely gives Papa Bear energy, but I see the other things he writes on threads too. He's a warrior.
Well, he gets spicy. And it's wonderful.
Jesse also introduced me to a friend of his who is a lawyer and a mental health clinic runner. I don't know the right word for it, but I'm going to be chatting with her soon and potentially bringing her on some shows because she's in a similar camp of awesomeness. So all of that. We do have calls that are currently being screened, so we're going to we'll get to those here shortly. I'm going to give Jesse a wrench here. And yeah, everything's just.
Do I have a
frickin'
wrench?
peachy.
I should have a wrench.
Have you ever written anything in chat on this channel? Do you even know what channel we're on right now?
Hell yeah. Yeah, I got it. I'm on the thing. Like, I'm not completely senile yet.
Not yet. Not yet. Do you know where we are in space and time? Hey, wouldn't a time machine, like a time machine would have, you're not a physicist, so you're actually,
it would put you in a different place in space. Yes.
Right. Unless you, could you solve for relativity, and basically you'd have to make the Earth the actual center of the universe for all of your equations. Like you could do that way, right?
I mean, I guess, or find some way to, well, I don't know how you could temporally affix it to wherever you are on the Earth unless you did something like that. So yeah, I guess that makes sense.
Because I mean, the equations are going to be based on some point. If you're saying we're going to move whatever, that's relative to some center of the universe. So you just have to make the center of the universe the Earth itself. But then even then, the Earth has gone through such metamorphosis that it's like, what if you want to move in a spot, but the elevation has changed even by a couple of feet, and now your foot is incorporated into the extra foot of soil, and your atoms merge.
Isn't that what H.G. Wells touched on that in The Time Machine, where like he went forward and the machine was like either half buried or something like that, and it was kind of just presumed that there was like an orb of whatever around the machine that kind of just into the ground at that moment.
We'd need something like that. So you probably want to skydive your time travel, people. We just want to make sure. We want to make sure that you do that.
Yeah.
All right. Apparently, a host gave misinformation about genotypic sex. So Mila in Colorado. We'll find out. Mila in Colorado, you are on the line with Jimmy and Forrest. First of all, which host gave misinformation about phenotypic sex? Genotypic sex.
Hi, Jimmy.
Yeah.
Hello.
I believe it was. Oh, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I hear you. You believe it was who?
Okay, cool. So it was you, Jimmy. I was listening to your other show with Joe Vaughn. I've spoken with him a different time, but there's some important information. I just think if you guys are going to be taking calls from people who are talking about genotypic and phenotypic sex, that you guys definitely need to be aware of.
I don't think I said a word about phenotypic sex, but you can tell me what I said.
Didn't you say that you can't change your genotypic sex, but you can change your phenotypic sex?
I certainly didn't. I know Javon was having that argument with somebody, and he said you can change your phenotypical sex, but you can't change your, I don't know if he said can't change your genotypic sex. Well, I believe he said your chromosomes, I remember he said your chromosomes are locked in, that you can't change your chromosomes.
Which you don't need to. The arbitrary shape your chromosomes are in are completely irrelevant. It's about the genes that are on those chromosomes and how they're expressed into developmental outcomes. But I'm sorry, I thought it was you. I was listening on the phone, so I couldn't see who was talking. I must have got the voices confused.
I'm going to enjoy telling Javon that he sounds as Nebraska accented white as I do. I'm going to love that. Apparently, they can't tell the difference between our voices. Our condolences.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I don't hear color, so
it's all good.
Sorry, that's a joke. I don't mean to be insensitive. The reason I'm kind of the reason I think it's important to be like very accurate here instead of saying generally something like phenotypic sex or genotypic sex is one, you are implying that a single gene like the SRY pathway, or we could talk about AMH, we could talk about FOX9, we could talk about FOXL9. I know that's overcomplicated. I'm not going to get into it, but I'm just saying we could talk about all of these specific genes technically giving you a male or female genotype. But the problem with that framing is that you're creating this generalization that all human beings either have like a male DNA pathway or a female a male DNA composition or a female DNA composition, not realizing all human beings have half of their chromosomes inherited by a male and a female. And the genes that I mentioned that actually grow testes, grow a uterus, grow all male sex differentiation and female sex differentiation are throughout the chromosomes. It's not on the X or Y. And even if you have a Y, sorry, I'm not going to monologue. that's where I'm kind of starting from. I'll shut up now.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I'm confused why you were here. Like, what are we talking about right now? Because if there's information you think Javon needs, if he's going to keep using that argument, and obviously send him sources because he may disagree or something, I would. I don't rely on, as far as my like extending to people their rights as trans people, or even the argument on whether or not they're delusional or whatever. I don't rely on this specific line of argument.
Yeah, I would only bring this up if we were specifically talking about whether or not sex is binary, which you're preaching to the choir here. This is all stuff that, you can find several streams of me talking about this stuff and talking about it, very largely the same argument that you just made, that the sex chromosomes are neither necessary nor sufficient for sex development, that there is no standard template of sex development, that there's a tremendous amount of ways on the genotypic level, at the hormonal level, different developmental pathways, like all sorts of different places where things can go this way, that way, both ways, neither ways, blah, blah, blah. So like, it sounds to me that you're preaching to the choir with Jimmy and I.
But also importantly, how hormones activate those same exact pathway, which is what intersex has to do with trans people. But I understand what you're saying. I think it's two separate conversations. One is biological sex differentiation relevant whenever it comes to how we segregate spaces in society? And I believe two things at the same time. One, that biological sex differentiation isn't necessary to be a man or a woman. But I also do believe that, this is the other conversation. And when people are going to call into your show and say, bring up the biological sex differentiation part, I do think that there's a certain level of responsibility required, since, of the three of us, whose ass is on the line here? Like, who's the one who's going to be put into a straitjacket with an iron lock if Nancy Mace gets her way?
I mean,
you're saying
I literally fund trans education and the second in command it. So I think I'm going to prison with you if it makes you feel any better.
Fair enough.
You're saying there's a certain level. You're saying there's a certain level of responsibility here. And again, I agree. That's why I think that Jimmy and I are quite responsible about it.
Based on the last, and I guess the person who was doing that isn't here on this call, so that does make this a little bit awkward. I'm sorry. I thought it was the other way around.
It also wasn't even on this channel.
Correct.
True. I did think it was Jimmy, which is why I called into the Jimmy show.
It's all good.
That's fine.
I mean, the reason I'm kind of bringing this up. Go ahead.
I'll fight Jovan next time I see him for you.
I've actually called into his show before, and I explained to him that he said he understands that he's generalizing whenever he says phenotypic sex, because again, it's like, I mean, your skeletal structure is a phenotype. You can't entirely change your phenotypic sex. You can change the dominant alignment of your phenotypic sex, which is why they say you can change your phenotypic sex. Obviously, you can't change
phenotypic sex. Also, rarely phenotypic sex in that way also rarely points strongly or is only singularly in one direction or the other. Usually a blend of characteristics.
Well, that's my point in bringing up, when you talk about necessary conditions for being female, I think the root of bringing up that point is that you cannot demand a trait for female sex classification that is not universal amongst all people considered biological females. There's only two things that are universally shared between all variations of biological females. One of those being that they were all, I mean, I guess you could make the argument that they were all born female, which validates a fallacy of origins mattering more than outcome, which I can get into why that's silly, but also the other side of that being that, like, the reason I bring that up is to say that the point of saying that it doesn't make any sense to say that is, I'm getting confused in my thoughts. I know I talk too much, and I tried to work on that. So I'm sorry if I'm getting a little.
It's okay. It's also important to point out that the one thing you just said there, that the necessary thing that all biological females share is that they were born phenotypically female. Like, that also isn't universal only to them. Gividose people are born phenotypically outwardly female and then change around age 12.
If your response could be your final thoughts, though, because I would like to get back to the show at hand.
Fair enough. That's why I bring up necessary condition, because what I would say is the one thing all biological females that are indisputably, I guess, not debated on, here is a dominant alignment of female sex traits, and that is a threshold that medical transition can meet. So, that's
Sure.
my final thought.
Cool.
Sorry for getting wrong who said what and
No worries.
calling them wrong.
I'd write it out and shoot
It
an
sounds
email
like we
to
agree.
Javon.
It sounds like we agree on a lot of stuff, though. So keep studying. You're doing great.
Thanks, Mila.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay. Let's see.
What Mila was just talking about is the reason why it's one of the 10,000 reasons why it's so stupid when people are like, oh, you can just dig up someone's skeleton in 100 years and see what their gender was. Like, fucking one of the many, many reasons why that's dumb. Because I promise you, if you find somebody with their nuchal crest and their jaw width and their brow ridge and their pelvis and everything all in the same line, like, it's going to be a weird one. Also, to the people in the chat, I just want to throw out there, like, there's a lot of people who were grumpy with Mila, and I think that's probably because I saw one of her earlier calls. She was asking if the difference between sex and gender is an opinion or not, and so I'm guessing she probably came from some place where she was a lot more transphobic before, or saying some shit before based on the judgment by the chat. I don't know. She didn't say stuff that was like too terribly egregious in that call. It sounds like she's learning, and it sounds like she's learning more and more to the side of science. So, like, I don't know the whole history here, but, like, give people a chance to grow, y'all. It sounds like she's doing something. Unless there's something that I don't know. If she was an absolute asshole, in which case, forget everything I just said.
All I am saying. Let's see. Let's see. The phone number is up here. We've had some people act like they were going to be on, and they've already hung up. The phone number's right there, 33654-32101. If you are on the right, you are a theist, you are whoever it is you are, you can call in right now and we can talk about it, and we can find out whether or not your shit matches the smell test. Do be aware, anonymous calls will not be taken. You must call from an actual real life American phone number. Otherwise, we're not taking you. We don't do that anonymous stuff. We don't dox anybody on air. But if you are one of the many trolls who decides you want to yell slurs and threats, we reserve the right to be able to pass that information along to the FBI as a matter of safety. So we're not doing it, and we're not protecting people's ability to troll. So do call in with an actual phone number if you would like to get on. We're talking to Aliyah, I think. Pronouns they, them. Aliyah, am I saying it right? You give me a correction if you like.
Yeah, you're saying my name right.
Excellent. How are you?
Tired. I just got out of school.
Cool. Well, what are you calling in about?
I've heard you talk previously about maximum wage.
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't really been exposed to the concept, so I'm wondering what criteria you use to determine maximum wage, and I guess maybe what an economy with a maximum and minimum wage would look like.
As far as the maximum wage goes, I don't have a specific number I would go with, but I know that the criteria would be set to balance the scales of wage inequality. That certainly there must be a number we can all agree is an excess, that like whatever the least amount of a person who is working full time is making should not be 1/1000th of whatever somebody working that same number of hours are. So I've always said if I need to put a number on it for the argument, I can certainly say $100 million. It's very easy to defend that no person should have $100 million. The number's probably actually lower than that even. But the scales we would be looking to balance would be wage inequality and economic injustice.
Okay, that makes sense. Is there somewhere where like I could read more about it? It's very hard to find anything around like socialist concepts, and especially when there's a lot of misinformation about it. So I'm kind of confused on where you get your information from as well.
I haven't adopted somebody else's maximum wage theory, if that's what you're describing. I mean, if you're just wanting leftist resources, it starts with Marx and it goes through a lot of different things depending on your topic. You might stop off with Norm if you want to read about Gaza. But I don't, if you're asking who I specifically have adopted their specific like reasoning for, I couldn't tell you off the top of my head which passage of information is most likely to repeat what I've just said to you.
I guess I was more asking where you get your inspiration from, but you kind of answered
a wide
in
breadth.
the question anyways.
Sure,
so.
yeah. 'Tis a wide
I would
breadth.
recommend, Aaliyah, if you're interested in this kind of thing, look up, I don't know if you've learned about FDR back in the day. Just off the top of my head, I'm gonna miss some details here, so please look this up and fact check everything I'm saying and learn more about this because I'm not giving you everything here. But Franklin Delano Roosevelt back in the day proposed a 100% tax rate for anyone making over. I just looked up the conversion calculator. I think it was $25,000 at the time. Yeah. And I did the conversion just here really quickly. It comes out to about $600,000. So you can make up to $600,000, and then every single penny you make after that, 100% of it goes to the government. And of course, that was knocked down to like something in the 90s, if I remember right. And you know what still happened? There were still rich people. We still had plenty of rich people. We had all sorts of very, very rich people in this country. And yet, because they were paying their fair share and paying back into the system in a way that nobody else could because nobody else had that kind of money, we also cultivated like the most amazing universities and the most amazing infrastructure and the most amazing economy and all these incredible things that was able to happen in the middle of the 1900s before, we started giving all of our money back to the billionaires. So like this is some stuff that's been, something similar to what we're talking about is something that's been done before or something very close to it anyway. And things went really, really well whenever these super rich people were paying their fair share. And now we have ridiculous social stratification and lots of people who are struggling for basic needs. While, Bezos gets to visit space in a penis-shaped rocket and Musk gets to reserve an entire freaking section of a stadium to go to a racist memorial. So like it's a wild time here in the US of A.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you definitely for the information. I'm also in Tulsa, and sometimes people ask questions and have had like I've been having a lot more political debates, like I guess like not even debates, like conversations in public, especially with me going to nursing school and stuff like that. So
yeah, I am also in Tulsa. My condolences to you. But it's definitely needed here. It's definitely needed here to talk more about this stuff and have more productive conversations.
Yeah, people are definitely curious about it. I mean, when you explain it without using their trigger words, people usually agree with you. So.
I like using their trigger words.
Sure.
Socialism is good. If you disagree, call 33654-32101. Thank you, Aaliyah. Anything else before we let you go?
Nope. Thank you, guys.
All right.
Take care, Aaliyah. Bye-bye.
The MAGAs keep hanging up. They get in the screening room and then they go. So we're just gonna put that thing out. I guess in the meantime, maybe we need to motivate them. People start super chatting things you want us to respond to, and we'll just keep making money on super chats as long as they're not calling in. And so it's kind of like we, a leftist indoctrination machine over here, will keep benefiting from them not calling in until they do. But that phone number is 33654-32101, 33654-32101. If you would like to call and debate us on the existence of God, Christianity, and whether it's a positive thing, whether or not we should be compelled to express sorrows over the death of someone we didn't know and was a political opponent, whatever we
what
disagree
about the Rapture,
on.
y'all? The Rapture's happening today,
Maybe that's why they're not
supposedly, or
calling.
maybe tomorrow. Call in.
What if
Tell
they got
us why
raptured?
we need to be raptured. That might be what it is.
They're not calling because yep, that's what it is.
That means we win. We've
I
won
get it.
the war of religion. They all retreated.
They're out. Pibblepunk said it is the show time for start the call in hello. I think you wrote that in a way so I would sound confusing.
Did you have a stroke or did I have a stroke? What
I
happened?
think I'm stroking out. I think we're being messed with. And Fuzzy Logic said, just came over from Javon's stream. He did explicitly say you can't change genotype, but can change phenotype. Also, as I heard it, he was pretty clearly oversimplifying XX versus XY for the dumbass caller. That is true. We do often try to reduce make a concept graspable for somebody.
Yeah.
But yeah, this looks like it might be a good one. We're just waiting for the screener to jump on. People, that phone number again, 33654-32101. We will talk to you about, as a couple of atheist, leftist, pro-vaccine people. We got
I do love vaccines. It's fun. We were talking about the Rapture. I just released a video recently. There's this famous book by Leon Festinger, a social psychologist, called When Prophecy Fails. And it's all about his when he infiltrated this cult in Chicago in the 1950s called the Seekers. And they believed that the world was going to end on December 21st and that a UFO was going to come down and take them all away to safety and take them to heaven. And when that didn't happen, he wrote all about how they became much more convinced of their beliefs, because this proves that they were spared by God because of their faith, and how what a miraculous moment that the rapture didn't occur because they've been praying at that time. And so, like, I'm worried about tomorrow and the next day on the 25th, because it's supposed to be today or tomorrow. So on the 25th, I'm worried about the sheer number of people who are going to now be very, very, very convinced of Christianity because the rapture didn't occur again. And I'm especially worried about the kids who have just been told for the past week or however much by their parents that they're about to die and it's going to be a wonderful thing. And they're going to float up stark naked in front of all of their friends away into heaven. And when those kids have to deal with that,
Rapture sounds like it's headed to Epstein Island. Jesus. It's
like Isaac coming down from the fucking mountain. Like, what the fuck was that? They now have to go home to their parents and be like, hey, so remember, like, a week you were telling me about how I'm gonna die immediately, and I've been preparing for that, and what the fuck do I do now? And like,
Barbara says, just a contribution, and thanks hosts, mods, and screeners. Prison Fan says, considering there is a stairway to heaven but a highway to hell, tells me about the expected traffic numbers. Canadian Goose says, want to say thanks for all the debates. I've learned so much since first watching The Line a couple weeks ago. Trans rights are human rights. You're damn right they are.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. And real money next time.
Bumble BZ, a round of drinks for all the rest of us Rapture leftovers. Can we start the party? Meow. Listen, as much as there may be people who, if you're calling in and you have like a point of agreement or something and you're like, well, if they don't have a call now, maybe I should call. That's not really what we do over on this channel. I'm going to take this next call, but if anything, I don't want to even risk a good call getting screened that's a debate call because somebody wants to call in and be like, yeah, we're on the same page or whatever. But we'll very briefly take this call because I don't think it'll be a point of disagreement. Benjamin in Pennsylvania, I think you believe there is a genocide in Gaza. So do we. You think that we should have a call to action. So do we, because we've also been calling for that very action. I don't know if you're new to the channel or show or whatever, but is there anything you need to add besides that?
No, I just feel like it's the greatest call to action in my generation. It is.
It's up there. Unfortunately, it's not the only genocide our generation's been complicit in.
No, of course not. There's, as far as I know, 4 other genocides currently going on in Myanmar, Ethiopia, Sudan, and China. But,
and even if it wouldn't categorize it, I would say it was criminal the way America responded to what happened in 9/11, and the amount of citizens who died would be also up there with the same level of tragedy. So maybe it's just sort of a broad Arab brown people genocide thing. We as a generation need to be obviously going with specifics when appropriate, like right now, the one that's happening in Gaza. But yes, we need to become the anti-genocidal generation because we haven't seemed to have accomplished that as a species yet.
Yeah.
To me, it just seems like it has unbearably massive parallels to the 1920s and 30s. And it was caused by it as well. But yeah, like you said, I was just calling in just to say I love you guys and I love your message and I listen to you guys all the time.
Great.
I just wanted to voice that.
Thanks, Ben.
That's very kind of you. Thank you.
So if anybody disagrees with us and Ben that there is, in fact, a genocide in Gaza, you can also call 33654-32101. I'm not terribly surprised honestly, because we have days like these. Some days we have, the last few shows we've had a lot of, they've been very active, and then days like this you have too, because despite saying they've created 10 million new Charlie Kirks, the people who are ready to beat us with their words, not with actions. When the opportunity arises for them to come beat us with their words, they don't.
It'd be a lot of fun. It would be
We're
a lot
here
of
right
fun.
now, ready for you. We're here right now.
We can talk about what a stupid, racist, hateful, bigoted, ignorant, arrogant, useless rat of a person Charlie Kirk was. And we can discuss his message and how fucking shitty and just absolutely pointless and benign it was. Or banal. It was quite the opposite of benign. We can talk about all these things.
It was
I wish it was benign. It would be great. We would love to talk to you. And we can talk about how it's okay to not give a damn that somebody dies. And that's a fun conversation, because the right is currently trying to deify this dude and turn him into a minor messiah and whip Christians up into a fucking religious frenzy over the death of an absolute fucking loser. So like, man, I would love to take that call. I would also love to take a call from the person who came in to say that Democrats kill their babies. If you find a spine somewhere up Trump's ass while you're crawling around up there, please pick up the phone. 33654-321-01.
Bumblebeezy says, a round of drinks for all the rest of us Rapture leftovers. Can we start the party? Meow. I think I might have read that one already. Roman UTD said, what do the hosts think of the countries that have recently recognized a Palestinian state and what it means? Thanks, love what you do. I mean, it's one of those things where it's like 2 steps forward, 1 step back kind of thing, where it's like, okay, so now we're heading more toward a 2-state solution, but the 2-state solution was never actually a just solution in the first place. But it's kind of one of those ones that it seems like it's probably going to get accepted because the alternative is the conclusion of the genocide, right? Like, and not the ceasing of the genocide, it actually proceeding and until it is quote unquote a complete and total genocide. But you know, it's nice, I guess, that countries that hadn't before now do. But a lot of people have been saying 2-state solution for a long time, including Obama, and it's not like we got any closer under Obama to it. Quite the contrary.
No, certainly not. Certainly not.
Rooster Rachel says, who or what is causing people to talk about the rapture? I'm not caught up on this. Why don't you fill them in while I pee and we wait to see if we get any.
Yeah.
Wait. Okay, we've got, you go ahead and fill that in.
You got that one, yeah.
Person, stay on hold. I just need to pee real quick. We'll be right back and we'll bring you on after that. I'll be right back while you fill them in on the Rapture.
I don't actually know where the initial claim came from. I heard it was just some random preacher who went viral for saying it, which is usually what it is. And the people who are believing that stuff have clearly never read the fucking Bible, because in the Bible, here in Matthew, let's see here. Where am I looking in Matthew? I was going to read the exact verses, but if it takes me too long to find them, here we go. In Matthew 24:36, of that day and that hour knoweth no man, no, not the angels of heaven, but only my Father only. This is Jesus speaking. As in the days of Noah were, so shall be also the coming, the Son of Man shall be. So this coming of the Son of Man shall be. So just like in the days of Noah is what it's going to be like whenever I return. As in the days were before the flood, they were eating and drinking and marrying and giving in marriage until the day that Noah entered the ark, and knew not until the flood came and took them away. So shall be the coming of the Son of Man. So just saying, like, it'll be just like then. Everyone was drinking and laughing and having a good time, slonking fat doinks as the rain started. But then suddenly Jesus comes back. Suddenly the flood came. He says again in Mark, but of that day and that hour knoweth no man, not the angels which are in heaven, neither the Son, but only the Father. So he's saying, I don't even know. Nobody knows. Oh, even I don't know. The only person that knows is God himself, which, by the way, kind of throws a wrench in that whole Jesus and God being the same person thing. And in Luke, I'm trying to find the one part of Luke, but it's not really worth digging for it.
I think you were just supposed to answer that it was a TikTok trend, because now we could actually be having this conversation with the caller, right?
Well, I figure while you were gone, I could go ahead and just say the context
Get
of
it
like
started.
why the people need to not, like, the people don't know what the Bible says. And also, just throwing this out there, the whole idea of the rapture isn't even a biblical thing originally in the first place. It was added in as a philosophical thing and a theological thing in, I think, the 19th century. It was a very late addition that has nothing to do with actual scripture, but that's a whole other conversation.
Let's jump into this MAGA call. Todd in Ohio. Todd, you are on the line. You have a point about the rapture and you want to defend, it looks like, that the left censors people more than the right. So Todd, you're on the line with Forrest and Jimmy. What do you got for me?
Hey, Todd.
Hi, Forrest and Jimmy. I appreciate you having me on. I thank you. Thank you for that.
Yeah,
first of all, I want to say I appreciate you guys. I am a Christian. I'm a born-again Christian. But I used to be a big rapture guy, and then I started reading the Bible, and I still believe in the rapture. But this sect of the rapture, where it's this pre-trib, pre-millennial, yes, they do confuse. I actually think they lead a lot of people away from Christ. And so on a Christian point of view, I don't agree with everything you said about it, but I do agree, yes, the Christians need to stop saying this stuff. It brings more confusion than anything. And so,
well, you're kind of making me support it if you're saying that
believe.
it makes people, if it leads people away from Christ. Now I'm starting to come down on its side because I think that the leading toward Christ is terrible for society.
Well, I
do you agree with the
people away from
scriptures that I
Christ.
read?
I do. Now, there's a context to it. So first of all, when no one knows the day of the hour, that can mean two things. The actual no one knows the day of the hour, or it's talking about the Feast of Trumpets. Now, this guy, I just actually watched him prior to this. He's some South African guy that made this prophecy that he went to heaven and stuff like that. He's referring to the no one knows the day of the hour according to the Feast of Trumpets, because in the Feast of Trumpets, you have, like, Jesus literally, this is why I believe the Bible, Jesus literally fulfilled. He died on Passover. He rose on the Feast of Fruits, and the Holy Spirit was poured out on Pentecost. And so some biblical scholars would say that he's actually going, so the last fall feasts have not been fulfilled. And they're actually pointing to Jesus could literally come back on the Feast of Trumpets. I'm not sure if I believe that or not. But
you said that's why you believe in Jesus, though. And so I just make sure I just need to make sure I add the note here that that's not a good enough reason to believe in Jesus, because the things that you said happened, you are presupposing they actually happened. And I reject that they happened. Not only do I not think that there was a Jesus who rose from the dead, any of the Revelation stuff I'm fully unimpressed by, because the people who were writing the New Testament had all access to the Old Testament to write in that these prophecies are being fulfilled. And even then, often didn't get their details very good.
Well, this is the thing, though. So this is the first reason I believe that Jesus is God. First of all, it says in the Word, it says in John 1, it says the Word was God. That we believe in the Trinity, the Father, Son, Holy Spirit. There was a very clear, when John baptized Jesus in the water, he said the Son came on the Spirit, and the Father spoke to Jesus.
Todd, I guarantee, I promise you I know the Bible at least as well as you do, but it sounds like at least you read it, so that's good. Instead of a Bible study, how about we start with, you believe, this is why I believe Jesus is God. How about we start with, why do you believe there is a God?
First of all, I think it takes more belief to believe in evolution.
Excellent, Todd. Now, why do you, I agree, it actually does take more belief because there's lots of evidence for evolution. And so you would have to understand, evaluate it. Then once you have an adequate amount of evidence, it justifies that belief. And so because there's no evidence for a God, I would say it takes a lot of faith, but it doesn't take more belief because there's only so many pieces of evidence you can pretend are evidence for God. So now back to my question, Todd, as opposed to your not why does somebody believe in evolution, the most well-supported scientific theory of all time, why do you believe there is a God?
Well, first of all, I think evolution's already been debunked. It hasn't on TV yet.
Okay, great, Todd. Now, why do you believe, hang on, no, don't let him do it. Don't let him do what he's trying. So, Todd, why do you believe a God exists at all? It will not require you to say the word evolution even once.
Okay. This is why I believe. First thing, the Bible has never it never been debunked.
Yes, it
People
has.
have tried it.
Absolutely.
Yes, it
has.
No, it hasn't.
Yes, it has.
No,
Todd,
it hasn't.
Todd,
No,
Todd,
it hasn't.
Todd,
It
hang
has
on,
not.
Todd,
Hold on,
hang on.
Can I finish? Can I finish?
No,
Let me
you
finish.
can't,
Let me
Todd, because
finish.
you made a claim and I'm going to respond to it. The Bible has never been
Okay.
debunked is not a true claim. But the fact is that as a
Tell me which-
believer,
tell-
the fact is that as a believer, when something is debunked, for example, the concept of Jewish slavery in Egypt and that the Jews were basically building Egypt as an enslaved people of, that has been completely debunked. Though the group of Jews that they're referring to didn't even exist in that part of the world at that time. The chariots at the bottom of the Red Sea, all of that stuff has been debunked. And so generally,
That has
either
been
a
a
person
fact.
like you, hang on, either a person like you goes, well, you just haven't found the right proof yet, or I just denied that evidence and reject it, therefore it hasn't been debunked because I don't agree with it, or you change it to, well, that one's just a story. Adam and Eve are just a story. The global
No, I
flood,
don't
which
believe that.
has been debunked. The global flood has been debunked over and over and over and over again. The global
hasn't,
flood.
though.
Yes, it has. Your
It hasn't.
non-acceptance
So
There's actually
you are
Hold on.
incorrect.
What you
Okay,
need to
I
understand.
mean,
What you need to understand. Listen here,
hasn't,
dude.
though.
I'm
Yes, it has.
Todd. I would fucking
Yes.
love to talk to you about evolution. We're not going to do it yet because we're going to
Let's
get
do
through
it.
this part of the call. We're going to get through this part of the call first. What you're saying here
Okay.
about how the Bible hasn't been debunked, despite the fact that so much of it is like you don't even have to
It
go to
hasn't.
reality to debunk the Bible. The Bible contradicts itself so much. You can just turn the page and it
It
debunks
doesn't.
itself. The fact of the matter,
It
we'll get to
doesn't,
that in
though.
a second too. We'll get to that in a second too.
Okay.
The fact of the matter
Well, can I
is,
finish at least what?
like,
Go ahead. It's your
all
guys' show,
the,
so
the
go ahead.
only the only archaeology that you have to back up the Bible comes from places like Answers in Genesis and Graham Hancock and shit that nobody fucking takes seriously. When you go to actual scientists who actually know what they're talking about, then you quickly find how ridiculous all of this stuff is. And that's why they don't publish their actual data. They just say what it says. They just say what they found. They don't actually publish anything that's able to actually verify.
So, Todd, what is your best
Mhm.
evidence for a global flood that occurred within the last 10,000 years?
Well, okay, since you don't believe the Bible, first of all, why even it was in South America, can't remember, you can watch it on your Ancient Aliens thing. There was even artifacts and buildings and things of that sort that Ancient Aliens even said there was without a doubt. Like, I think the evolutionists are eventually going to that direction because
Are you a
evolution
Mormon,
is so
Todd?
off the chart. But hold on, let me finish. Can I finish? Let
You
me
can't,
finish.
Todd, because
Let me
you're
finish.
currently trying to use a terrible source, Ancient Aliens, which
No,
said that Joseph Smith met with aliens.
But they found artifacts. They found artifacts that said, "Hey, there was a worldwide flood."
What artifact?
no, they
What's your
didn't.
best
People are-
artifact? Name
Yes,
one.
they did. It was.
Wait, what was it?
In Ecuador? It was in South America, and you could see there was some sort of ruins on it, and there was evidence of a flood.
Of
There
a
was
flood.
evidence
Oh,
of a flood
sir,
in Grand Canyon.
sir,
Right.
there is
Evidence of a flood
evidence
in
of a
Grand Canyon.
flood.
There's evidence. Hold on. Can I finish? It's your
Todd,
guys' show,
you
but
keep,
if I
but
can't
Todd,
finish,
you aren't
Todd.
giving anything of substance. You are giving broad generalizations. Not only, yes,
Also-
Todd, I asked you specifically,
No,
what is your
you're not
best
letting- you're not
evidence?
letting me
What
speak
is
the
your
facts.
best evidence of a flood in the last 10,000 years? And you went with the Grand Canyon, who was filled with water millions
rock
of years
layers.
ago.
you think those?
Millions
You
of
think
years
that's
ago.
million. How do you know?
is-
What is your
global
evidence
issue
is
is-
millions
flood.
of years?
The issue, Todd, is that you're
You don't have
claiming
any
that the
idea?
Grand Canyon. Yeah, I do. The issue is that you're claiming the Grand Canyon is evidence of a flood. Usually, this is because the creationists will say that's where the floodwaters drained out into that thing. How exactly did the waters from all over the world all come just to the southwestern part of North America, just to carve out just that one place?
I never said that.
How does that work?
I never said that.
Right, but
I never said
that's
that, though.
usually the claim, and so I figured it was going to be the same thing.
It's
If
also
it
the
isn't,
implication
I would
of what you
love to
said.
hear.
Yeah, he
I would
doesn't have
love
a
to
working
hear
mind.
how. I would love to hear
And the
how
rock
the
layers-
floodwaters. I would love to hear the floodwaters only did that in that one part of the in that one part of the Western United States, and nowhere else do we see that kind of thing happening.
Well, what about the
No.
I forgot what
Answer
they're
Forrest's
called.
question.
It's in
Wait.
English.
Todd,
Answer
what did
question.
Forrest just ask
Okay,
you?
yeah.
Todd, what did Forrest just ask
What?
you? Repeat the question
I
Forrest
didn't-
just asked you.
Yeah, he said, "How can I give proof that the Grand Canyon, all those floodwaters came out of there.
That is not what he asked you.
That's not what I asked.
What did you ask me then?
I said,
Okay, what'd you ask?
I said if the Grand Canyon is proof of the flood, because the flood carved out the Grand Canyon, why don't we see that all over the fucking world? Why is it only in one part of the southwestern United States that the floodwaters behave this way?
Well, because I'm trying to answer it and you won't let me.
No, you weren't.
I'm trying to give you another
Go
proof.
ahead, answer it then.
I am trying to give you a point.
What's the
Todd,
answer?
give the answer to his specific question.
In England, I am trying to answer it, but there is evidence, and you're not letting me finish.
Go
That's
ahead,
the
Todd.
problem.
This is your chance.
And if
Like,
you
I
are,
thought-
and if
I
you
thought
start answering
liberals-
it, Todd, if
Hold
you
on,
start,
hold on,
I'm
hold
not a
on.
liberal,
I
so
thought liberals let other people talk.
hey, Todd,
I thought
Todd,
liberals
I'm not a
let other people
liberal.
talk.
Todd, I'm not a liberal. Neither of us are. So, Todd, now you are going to answer
There is in England.
specifically
There's
his
facts.
question about the canyons. Go ahead.
I am. I will. There are facts of other things. So, for example, I don't know them off the top of my head because I wasn't prepared for this, but those, what are they called?
You brought it up.
On Easter Island. Easter
Okay, so
Island.
Todd,
right?
stop
You
for a
had those-
moment. Pause.
So,
Pause.
yeah.
That is not the question that was asked of you. The question,
You're
I'll put it
asking
even
for
simpler,
proof.
Todd.
You're asking for
Todd,
proof.
Todd.
No, I'm asking for proof.
Pause.
Jeez. You
The
guys are
question you
unreasonable.
were asked and you said you were going to answer, I'll give you the dumbest version of it. Why is there only
the Easter
Todd?
Island? There's proof.
Nope, Todd.
Easter Island. There is
That is not the
proof
question.
of the flood.
Todd, that is not the
There are
question.
layers found.
Todd, you still
not
do
the question
not
you were
grasp the question. You will get to say your other proofs after you answered this exact question. If the global flood caused the Grand Canyon in the southwestern United States, why are there not more Grand Canyons in other parts of the world?
Who says they're not? How do you think mountains were created? How do you think?
I think
valleys were
mountains and
created?
canyons are the opposite of each other.
No,
Where are the
because
other canyons
there's-
caused by the water eroding away the evidence of the flowing water? By the way, the answer to how mountains are formed is plate tectonic. So you're already out of your depth if you didn't know that. The
I swear
Grand
to God.
Canyon
For
is a
example,
specific
Mount
type of
St.
canyon.
Can I
So
just
Mount
say,
St. Helena's when it erupted.
if
back
you
in the-
say, Todd, if you either say that there are seashells and shit on top of mountains and that proves the flood, or that somebody tried to radiometrically date Mount St. Helens and came up with millions of years in the radiometric, I'm going to encourage everyone to take a shot in the fucking chat because those are the dumbest fucking creationist arguments of all time. Go right ahead, Todd.
Take a
What's
your
say?
dumb shot before somebody misinterprets what you're saying. They're gonna roast the fuck out of you if that's what you go with.
I don't really care. I don't even watch your show. I'm just
You
trying
don't
to figure
care
out
about a
your
lot.
logics.
Don't
I
pretend
do
you care
care
about
about a lot.
logic because you are drowning up here in your own logic.
You're not.
Did
you're
the
not.
global
There's
flood?
different ways.
Todd,
Not
Todd,
everything's
what-
going to
Todd,
Let me finish.
Todd, was the Grand
Let me
Canyon
finish,
caused
yes.
by the global flood?
Do I? I don't know. But I'll tell
So
you
why
what,
did
there
you
was a
call
global
it?
flood,
That
and
was
there's
your
evidence.
evidence. That was
No,
your
no,
evidence.
There's evidence.
No, there
There's
isn't.
other evidence. You didn't let me
There
finish
isn't.
because you cut me off after I talked about the Grand Canyon. And then there's Easter Island.
Great. What about Easter
where
Island?
Easter Island, where the heads, and underneath them there's the bodies of those heads.
Okay.
A lot of things down, right? So why? So you're telling me these ancient people build a big statue and then just their heads are covered? So if you go down deeper into the ground, you'll see their bodies and stuff like that. That's another thing.
You don't see
Okay.
You don't see like a whole body. And yes, they buried them quite deep so that they didn't fall over and shit.
Did they? So you're telling me?
So you're telling me
it's the shape of a body?
You're
It's the shape
telling
of a
me.
body.
No.
And there's a lot more evidences too. I mean, you can
No,
look
but
on.
wait. What you just
How
said
is
was
that
not
evidence?
evidence of a flood. It was evidence of a statue that is mostly submerged, that the amount of detail work that once you go under the statue dramatically reduces, which implies that the creators of them knew they were going to be underground or built them underground. And you're sitting here and just saying, but you have not yet connected Easter Island to a flood in any way.
They did build out like a little bit of the body of the statue, and then they buried it. Either they buried it or it sunk a little bit. Yes.
It is most likely that they buried it because we see the tremendous reduction in detail. Right. It seems to imply that they understood that the parts that were under the ground were going to be under the ground.
We also knew, like, we know a lot about how they built them and how they got them there and all that shit. Like, we've covered all that. It sounds an awful lot, Todd, like you are going with the I know you didn't cite ancient aliens. You said even ancient aliens, blah, blah, blah. But, like,
we accept ancient aliens.
What very often happens is that people who are from this creationist camp will look at the technological wonders of ancient cultures and presume that there must have been some sort of miraculous, magical, or even alien thing involved, rather than just saying, yes, these ancient people did some really cool shit.
How old is the universe?
Hold on.
Let him answer that first.
So you're telling me
you're telling me. See how he's not answering it first? He's going to the pyramids
because you guys act like you know it all. You're
going to the pyramids now.
You're telling me that we don't even have technology right now that can build the pyramids.
Yes, we do. That is an absolute lie. Yes, we absolutely have the technology.
No, it would break.
We don't, excuse me, Todd, we don't know by what technology in totality they used. There are still mysteries. And in fact, each year we find out a little bit more. And the gap of like, oh, how did they cut the rocks this big? And you guys also love to especially point to this one huge rock where it's like, it's impossible to move it. And it's literally the rock they didn't move. It's the one they cut in place and left there. So like, yes, we are saying there is no reason to believe in a magical explanation, even if we don't have the answers right now to how they did it. But you going with a book, making some shit up with no evidence either, doesn't work better.
But
there's also that dude who lived... There's also that dude who actually just recreated the technology that's like shown in hieroglyphs and using simple machines, just pieces of wood, building big levers and wheels and shit, moved fucking 20-ton stones and shit in his backyard and showed how easy it is for even one person to do it.
A lever can move it.
You're telling me.
Literally, yes. That's the entire point of fucking Archimedes' principle.
Todd, you can go
give me
watch
a long
the
enough
video.
lever and a place to stand and I can move the whole world. That's the entire point.
Todd, you can literally watch the video of a lever moving it. And we're not even saying that for sure is a totality of it, just that it is naturally and physically possible. And surely not, and by the way, this is why we know Moses didn't exist, because not only do we actually know that those people didn't exist in that point and that the Egyptians did not enslave Jews, but we also know who actually is responsible and that these engineers of their time were like highly revered, and is why they are often buried in these holy these holy funeral places. So you
guys have your sources?
Yes, and they're fact-based and they're science-based.
I don't believe that. You have your sources?
Great.
I have my sources.
And mine can be recreated in labs. Example, mine's based on facts. Mine's based on stats. And yours is based on, but God, he does. Hey, Todd, how old is the Earth?
There's facts there.
Todd, how old is the Earth? Todd, how old is the Earth?
Well, how old is the Earth?
Yeah.
It depends what the scriptures say. Some say it was 6,000. I don't know if I believe that or not, because one day with the Lord is 1,000 years. So I don't know. And you know what? That's irrelevant to me.
No,
that's irrelevant to me.
Irrelevant, yeah, me too. How far away is the sun from the Earth? Do you know?
Huh?
How far away is the sun from the Earth?
It takes about 21 years to get there. It'll take about 21 years to get there.
So that's not a unit of distance. How far away is our sun from the next closest sun?
So hold on. What are you trying to prove here? What are you trying to prove?
Todd,
I don't really care
Todd,
what you say.
I understand that you are scared of this line of questioning.
No, I'm not.
Okay,
I'm not
great.
Scared.
Then just if you're not scared, then just answer the questions. How far away?
What?
How far away is our sun to the closest star?
It doesn't matter. I don't know, and I don't care.
Don't care. Of course, it matters.
You
don't know where you just admitted you don't know where the questions are going.
Rapture,
you don't know.
We're talking about the rapture.
We aren't anymore. We're talking about why you believe in God. And your religious belief is based on a younger.
Reason I believe in God.
What's the oldest?
What is the main reason I believe in God?
Todd, what is the oldest that the Earth? What is the oldest you believe the Earth may be in your belief system?
It can be as old as millions and billions of years old, or it can be as old as 6,000. It doesn't matter to me. It really doesn't.
Well, it
And
should matter
you're
to you.
telling me
It absolutely should matter to you. And you
out of
pretending you're not a
that?
young Earth creationist now is hilarious. That you're saying it could be millions and
What?
billions when you know that if
See,
you're going to be
but you
consistent
got
with the
this
people who
different
believe
theories
in
of
the
Bible.
flood.
You don't know. The only thing you guys argue with is young creationists.
You know what I
because
do
you
know
don't
is
know
that the
the other
Bible isn't
variations of the
true.
Bible.
Actually, I do know
That's
that
not
the
true
Bible
also.
isn't true.
It doesn't matter
I'm
if
still
it's
waiting.
true or
Todd,
not.
Todd,
To you, it
that's-
doesn't matter if you believe.
It
you can
absolutely
believe in
does
Santa
matter.
Claus all day long.
It does
You
matter.
can believe in Santa Claus.
Right.
I do.
Doesn't mean he's true or not. It
Correct.
doesn't matter
You are
what you
absolutely
believe and what
right.
you say.
And whether Santa is true or not, that question has an answer. And if enough information is there, you can investigate that information and find out whether he's not. Right now, there is enough information to conclude that Santa does not exist, and you are going to end up on the correct side of that question. And guess what?
But there
The
is
same
evidence
is
for
true of the
creation.
Bible.
There is evidence of the Bible.
Of
There is
Santa?
evidence. The thing is, you don't want to believe it.
No,
there was facts
I'm sorry.
that
There
Moses.
is
There was facts that. Hold on. If Moses
Go ahead.
didn't exist, David didn't exist.
correct.
If
No,
David
no.
didn't exist,
Excuse me.
Josiah
Incorrect.
didn't exist.
Incorrect. It is
No,
not
it's not
correct to
correct.
say that
Those
if
people-
Moses
there are
didn't exist,
facts.
then David didn't exist.
Facts.
That's like me saying if a person who I've made up, we'll call him great grandpa Jimmy Butt Cheeks, and he is 10 generations back. And then I'm going to say that I have a grandpa who is named Jimmy Snow also. If I can't say, well, if you're saying Jimmy Butt Cheeks doesn't exist, then Grandpa Jimmy Snow doesn't exist. They are independent from each other. And in fact, most people believe some lie about someone that they're related to, that there's some lore in there.
Maybe it's Ella. We know that Jesus existed outside
No, we
of
don't.
biblical text.
No, we don't.
Yes,
We
you
know
do.
Christianity
Yes, you do.
existed.
That
We
is-
know
you
that
guys are so
Christianity exists.
You're
Great.
just so
Great. What is
unbelievable.
that?
There's
What's-
actually a tomb
Todd,
with Jesus' name on it.
Todd,
There's
no,
actually
there isn't.
biblical proof.
Todd,
You
what
are
is
just
the
a liar.
Great, where
you
is that?
are a liar.
Great, Todd.
Audience.
Todd.
These guys
Todd.
are liars.
Todd.
Liars.
Todd.
Do not be deceived.
Todd,
They
I
are
will
liars.
hang up. Todd, I will hang up on you if you stop
You'll
engaging
hang
in the
up.
conversation. Todd, where
You're
is
liars.
the evidence
You are liars.
outside of the Bible that Jesus Christ existed? Where?
Yes. There it is in,
Where?
I don't know the exact text, but I can find it for you.
Because
and
it
I'll email
doesn't
it to you. How about
exist.
that?
It
Go
doesn't
ahead.
exist.
Give it to me.
Exists.
Give it to
does
me.
exist.
Give it to
It
me.
does exist.
Give it to me.
Then
It-
what
You're
is it?
telling me it
in
exists.
some
You should have it ready. I'm
Roman
not going to make a
it's-
claim. It's
Well,
where?
First of all, I wasn't ready to argue this. I'm on a way to work. I'm
No
on a way
shit.
to umpire.
No
I
shit.
got off work. I'm going somewhere else.
No shit.
I just wanted to let you guys know.
You're not ready to
okay,
argue for any of your beliefs because they are very
Todd.
poorly founded.
I'm trying to argue, but you're not. No, you guys
Where
are
is the
unreasonable.
extra
That is
biblical
your problem.
evidence of the
You
existence
don't
of
want to
Jesus?
believe there are
Great.
facts.
Todd, you just
Todd.
keep saying
Jesus
things.
Hey,
is the
Todd.
issue. You just
Hey,
keep
listen.
saying things.
All right,
without
Todd,
having
here's
any
what we're going to do.
actual
I'm going to have to mute you because you won't answer the questions actually asked of you. So you're muted for a moment so you can listen, Todd. You were asked, where is it, the evidence outside of the Bible that Jesus existed, which you claimed it does exist? I asked where, and instead of answering it, you went on, you guys are liars. You guys just don't want to believe. You guys just don't want to. Whereas if you ask us a question, where is the evidence of A, B, or C? Please don't say evolution because I don't have all day and Forrest will not stop. But
I
if
really
you
want
ask,
to talk about
we
evolution.
can actually list you sources and the information in those things. Whereas you're just broadly saying the evidence exists, but are not prepared to actually present it. So Todd, you guys are liars, you guys are liars, you guys are liars. You're just telling me, Todd, how about instead of worrying about us being liars, you actually answer the questions and tell us where to get the better information. So Todd, I'm going to unmute you. Todd, where are the extra biblical accounts not found in the Bible of Jesus Christ's existence that happened, that were written while he was alive by people who witnessed him being alive? Go ahead, Todd. You're unmuted now.
Okay. There is, first of all, his tomb, without a shadow of a doubt, where the scriptures say his tomb is where it was in the Bible. That's
Where does
a
the
fact.
Bible say it? Where does the
100%.
Bible,
And here-
excuse me, where does the Bible say Jesus's tomb is located precisely?
Okay, this is it says that I forgot his name, but he buried him in a cave. He was a rich man. I'd have to I'm trying to get ready. He's a rich man that bought a tomb. He asked
Where? Precisely
Pilate-
where does the Bible say? Because I can tell
Precisely where?
you,
I'm
I
trying
can
to
tell
give
you
you the
what the
answer.
Bible actually says. You said it's very precise, and it's a fact that they found a tomb there.
They did find a tomb there.
Except
They
for
did
that
find a tomb.
isn't an
Where?
extremely precise. Would you like to know what the verses are? Because I think I probably know the Bible better than you.
You do not know the Bible, then.
Oh, I guarantee you I do, Todd.
Right now.
Todd, I
You don't
guarantee
know
you
the
I
Bible,
do.
then. I
Great.
promise you don't.
Great. What book and chapter?
promise
What book
you-
and chapter are we in right now? Without looking at the Bible, you tell me
would
what
be
book and chapter we're going to
Matthew.
find this information.
It would be Matthew 28.
Incorrect. Matthew
Luke-
27. Ooh, so close. By the way, it's
27.
also
Okay,
in Mark
ooh.
and in John. Oh, you fucked up already.
Okay, I was going to get to this. No.
Mm-hmm. You did.
No.
By the way,
No.
all it says is that it was near the site of the crucifixion, that it was outside the walls of Jerusalem, and that it belonged to Joseph of where? What place? Which Joseph was it?
Joseph of Arimathea.
That was a cute attempt. That was a cute attempt. By the way, I know you're reading. I
Yeah,
can
well,
hear
I'm-
you reading. I can hear you are reading.
I am
right
not
now.
reading.
Yes,
You
I can
are a
hear
liar.
it.
See, this is the thing.
Uh-huh.
You
I'm a
have
liar.
no idea.
I'm a liar. I can
You
hear
are-
you reading,
yes,
buddy.
You are
And
a liar.
here's the deal.
You are
Here's
a
the deal.
liar. You're
None
a
of that.
pathetic
None
liar.
of that
Just
is a
like, hold on. This
precise.
is how big of a liar you guys are.
Hey, buddy. Guess what? You don't get to have any control. I just muted you again. Oh no, you have zero control here. Todd, none of that we just established is a precise location. None of it is. It is a general location. And so the fact that they have found a tomb does not establish it was his tomb. And even if you found writing on it, that it was Jesus's tomb, doesn't establish it was written at that point. You actually have no contemporary evidence of when he was alive, of anybody who met him. And by the way, you said other people wrote about him who knew Jesus from outside of the Bible. And now you're trying to go with a broad, there is a tomb hole in a rock. So we're the liars, and yet the evidence that you're presenting, you are once again trying to get out of, and you're still trying to use the Bible as your source. You said the evidence was from outside of the Bible, and now you're giving me the location, a broad location of a tomb, as they describe it in the Bible, and say this hole matches that. So Todd, as we unmute you, I'm sure you're just going to try to complain about what liars we are. As we unmute you, Todd, and MAGA, if you can outdo Todd, he's set the bar so low. The phone number's right there, 336532101. Todd, as we unmute you, who, as you said existed, wrote about Jesus from outside of the Bible, who knew him at the time he was alive? And go. Did the unmute not work? Nope, there we go. Now it worked. Go ahead.
Tacitus, Tacitus
Tacitus did not write about Jesus Christ at the time that Jesus was alive. He talked about Christianity.
And Josephus.
Josephus is accepted by
Josephus
scholars
also
to be absolutely a fraud, and Tacitus did not talk about the existence of Jesus, nor did he ever meet Jesus.
And Seutonius. Yes, I did Google those ones.
Just like
But
you've been Googling everything else.
I didn't look up. Hold on. I didn't look up the verse about Joseph of Arimathea. So you don't act like you know more than me. Don't act like you know
Todd, I
something
do,
about
because
me.
you just said that
Just
Tacitus.
hold on.
You just said that Tacitus wrote about Jesus. Specifically, what did Tacitus say?
He says Roman historian who was in the Annals references Christians, a group of named after Christ, and mentioned his execution by Pontius Pilate during the reign of Tiberius.
So what did he talk about? Did he talk about Jesus, who he knew and confirmed?
About Jesus,
or did he talk about, read the fucking thing again.
No, you're dumb. You're dumb. You are so irrational.
Sir, read exactly what you just said.
You're a moron.
Mm-hmm.
Just like you said, Donald Trump censors people. When you guys censored him, and you guys censored so many more conservatives.
Wait, this is a beautiful attempt to change the topic, which is what people do when they're losing. So, Todd, let's talk about the censorship of Donald Trump. Who censored Donald Trump? Who censored Donald Trump? You said you guys, specifically
Facebook.
Who?
I've been censored.
Okay.
I've been censored by Facebook. He's been censored
Am
by
I Facebook? Am I Facebook?
They were people not putting them on.
Is the left
Yeah,
Facebook?
Is
The left
Facebook.
is the left is the biggest censorship, and I proved my point there. Thank you
No,
very
you haven't,
much.
Todd.
I'm gonna do a drop mic.
Todd,
you have a good.
You have fun telling people you're dropping the mic. You've been muted because we're now going to correct your misinformation. Todd has ran.
I just
Todd
wanted
is
to
a
talk
little
about
bitch.
evolution.
Todd has run like a little bitch.
Todd, please call back when I'm on Skep Talk so we can talk about evolution, you bitch.
It's very funny how Facebook did it. Mark Zuckerberg, who now sits next to Donald Trump and shit, who, by the way, is a private company. And when we're talking about whether a political party is a party of censorship, we're talking about whether or not they use their government power to censor. Because the fact of the matter is Donald Trump lost his tweeting privileges while he was president by Twitter. Joe Biden did not say, Twitter, do it, or else we will come and we will fuck you up. The FCC, when we're talking about the Jimmy Kimmel thing, is who tried to get rid of, and obviously Jimmy Kimmel has now come back, because it turns out if enough people affect their bottom line, they are too afraid to be poor and to have the stock price go down. So the boycott actually did work, which is rare. It's wonderful, because boycotts usually that are not more well organized tend to not work, especially on a national scale. And that's a delightful development. However, I haven't reinstated my Disney Plus because there is that whole they're still supporting the genocide thing.
I was writing out a thing that I was going to hold up while you were talking to Todd about how apparently, as I was looking this up, apparently the Easter Island heads have a bit more body than I thought. I thought they tapered off a little bit below the nipples, but it turns out some of them, they go pretty far down there. They actually have a little bit more detail than I thought they did. All the way down
a lot
to their
less
lower
detail.
bodies.
It's
still significantly less. It's just more than I thought it was.
The implication is clearly that they were expecting them to be submerged.
Literally nothing about anything that I said to Todd changes besides the fact that I thought that they had less detail than they do. I thought they had some detail
like
down there.
Indent of like arms, though some of the arms are actually above the ground.
I knew they carved out the arms and some of the chest, and sometimes they have like some long fingery hands. But it turned I was looking through pictures, and some of them have like little leggy bumps and stuff like that. Literally nothing else about any of that changes. Also, how the fuck is that evidence of a flood? What got me, what I wanted to talk to him about, and I knew we would never be able to because he was too busy fucking freaking out. But like, what I really wanted to ask him was, it sounds like it's the same fucking ancient alien conspiracy where it's like, you're telling me these brown people made something? Come on. And like, that's where it seemed like it was.
They were just running around eating their own poop.
I really wanted to ask him if he reads Frank Joseph and shit, because that would be very funny to me. It sounds about right.
Yep. All right, let's do it. Let's do this totally good faith call here. Evan in Canada. Evan, you are on the line with Jimmy and Forrest. How are you, Evan?
I'm good. How are you?
Just fine. Go ahead, Evan. What point do you want to present here?
Well, the point I want to present, I guess, is, from an outsider looking in for the last 10, 15 years, I guess the thing I want to say is that the left participated in so much cancel culture over the past 10 years. And now the tables have turned, but the thing that, I realize I like freedom of speech because we don't have a ton of that in Canada right now with all of our hate speech laws coming out. But I guess the thing I don't really like is that the left is all of a sudden like, whoa, what happened to our freedom of speech when they were the ones attacking it like not even a few years ago.
So how was the left attacking it? Yeah, specifically, how did the left attack freedom of his speech a few years ago? What did it mean when they canceled somebody?
Well, it'd usually be for having an opinion, mostly a political opinion that
right. And what would they do?
They
not for what
agree with.
We were granting the idea that they were canceling. So what was it they were doing that was canceling that was wrong, that was opposing free speech?
Well, I guess it'd be mass flagging posts and getting people deplatformed for some benign opinions, but even
Now,
I can't remember
that's great. No.
specific cases.
That's good
but-
enough. That's
oh,
good. I
sorry.
don't even disagree. Mass flagging, deplatforming, individuals, mass flagging, deplatforming. I don't disagree that happened. It definitely happened. In fact. All right, now, Evan. Not to say that they didn't then go find alternative platforms, but fair enough. People who felt they shouldn't have lost their Twitter, who don't lose their Twitter today. What is the main complaint right now about the rights violation of freedom of speech actually being taken up by leftists like myself, by leftist representatives, not by 15-year-olds on Reddit, actually brought up by us as a violation of free speech? What are we saying the right is doing wrong? Is it just censorship and deplatforming?
Well, I'm not sure. I'm going to be honest with you. I've
Would you like
never
me to answer?
seen your stream before. Yeah, go ahead. Just tell me your perspective.
I'm going to start actually once again restating, I agree that lots of people on the left in large use deplatforming and mass flagging to try and silence the sources of speech that they found repulsive and disgusting, that they tried to use those consequences where they could, whether they were successful or not, and whether they created a bigger monster or not. The problem with the right is not that. And in fact, last week, when people were, or 2 weeks ago, when people were trying to get people fired for the Charlie Kirk thing, I never called that a violation of freedom of speech, except to point out that they used to call that, to point out the irony, like, oh, interesting. You used to say getting people fired was a violation of their freedom of speech. What I have said is a violation of the freedom of speech is when a government entity joins in on it. So when Donald Trump, through the FCC, threatens ABC, that would be a violation of free speech. I would even go so far as to say, while it would be harder to make this case in court, it goes beyond, it definitely, I'm trying to think how to do it. It begins to be an infringement on the freedom of speech when the vice president is instructing his political following to try and get people fired for their opinions. Now, if somebody just said, hey, did you hear so-and-so got fired for making fun of Charlie Kirk? And he goes, well, you know, that's the consequences of your action. People have the right to do that. That I would take no qualms with. But when the vice president, specifically people in these political places, are using their political power to try and silence the speech of their opposition, but further than that, trying to condemn their opposition to poverty because they know if you put them in poverty, they will resort to violence at some section and then we can do anything to them. That's what's happened in Gaza. Make the Gazans impoverished, they will resist with violence. And then when they do, we can do anything to them in response because, oh my God, look what they did to us. That's the difference. One is a consequences of actions that were socially reinforced. You can say there was at times government overreach. You can argue like, oh, the government shouldn't have been saying like, hey, you should not promote tweets like this or whatever else. But when the government actually comes with a threat, when the government comes with a threat, if you do not do it, that is infringing on your actual right to free speech.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, I agree. You know, as an American or as a Canadian, I don't actually really have a stake in the game personally, but
you agree then that they are different. What the left is doing is different than the right, correct?
Well, it's a little different.
It's a lot different.
A lot of people did get fired back then.
And how many of those fires happened because the government threatened companies if they didn't fire them for speech?
Well, I'm not sure. I'm
Zero.
not sure. I mean,
it's none.
Zero.
This, what you are describing, Evan, is people experiencing consequences for their actions when they vocalize shitty, hateful rhetoric and they spread shitty, hateful, what I guess you could nicely call opinions, but these aren't like whether or not, you know, black people are intelligent enough to keep up with white people is not just an opinion. It's just stupid racism. And when you have people espousing stupid racist ideology and hate speech and shit, and somebody calls their company and says, hey, this person's representing you, I would fire that person. If I hired somebody and I found out that that person was going around quoting Charlie Kirk or whoever, I would fire that person for being a racist piece of shit. I don't want that racist piece of shit representing me and my brand and my company. What you were describing is capitalism.
Okay.
That's all this is.
I mean, one thing I just want to say though, is I really don't think Charlie Kirk was a racist. like,
Okay,
as
except for all the
someone
racist shit that he said?
watched a lot of, like what?
Like I actually mentioned one a second ago. I kind of referenced it, like when he said that black women don't have the intellectual capacity to keep up with white men, and the only way they're able to be taken seriously is by stealing white people's jobs.
Also, I would also, Evan, point out that it's extremely racist to lie about DEI programs, to lie about why we use them, to bring up things and imply that quotas still exist when he knew quotas didn't exist. It is actually to misrepresent when DEI clearly exists as a way to counter the fact that if you are already in a white cultured company, you are likely to just subconsciously, not even maliciously, racistly, but just subconsciously end up hiring white people. In fact, even Jon Stewart, liberal who he is, was at one point offended because it was brought to him that they were basically a bunch of white people, and then realized that they were right and that he was participating in a system where the way that people are being screened to become potential writers and performers on his show, there was built into that something that was going to ultimately exclude, without any malice, people who weren't essentially white dudes. So to lie about them, to say things about quotas, to lie about whether or not the standards of pilots have been lowered to get more black people in, lying about DEI is in and of itself extremely racist. To be racist today
there
and
weren't
have
any quotas for the airlines?
Excuse me?
There weren't any quotas, like they weren't
correct.
actively
Quotas have
trying
not
to get more
existed
black
for
people
decades.
and women?
No. Actively wanting to get more black people and women is different than saying you must get this specific number minimum of there are not quotas, and they did not lower standards. It's basically like when they call
well, that's good.
It's like when they call Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson a DEI hire, because it's like, why are you not bringing up all of her qualifications to be there? The fact that she's extremely qualified. And if that's all you say, she's a DEI hire, and leaving out the fact that she is more qualified than other people on the bench, including other white men, that those qualifications are there, you're essentially saying something out there. Implicit here is a reason she couldn't be qualified despite having those qualifications. And if you have an answer to that besides the fact that she is black, I'd love to hear it.
Who are we talking about? Sorry, my phone.
A Supreme Court justice.
Supreme Court Ketanji Brown Jackson. I would love to hear you talk about that, and I would also love to hear you answer what I said. You asked, what did he say that was racist? I gave you one example. I've got several more. Would love to hear your response.
Okay, DEI though, when it comes to, let's say, getting into college, does that not effectively lower the average test scores of, I guess, black applicants? You are
correct. You are correct. The test scores do not go down. They did not adjust test scoring to get more black people in. They expanded the incentives to make sure you actually consider. Okay, Evan, you are living under the presumption that there isn't a robust group already of high GPA black people to bring in. The only reason the average GPA is lower, not whether or not those high end exist, is because those communities are underfunded, because they're based on property taxes. And it's literally a line all the way back to slavery, to the fact that we made sure they stay poor and in those neighborhoods. So those educational issues that you are anywhere you're even identifying that it could be true aren't the problem of that they did not create those problems, we did. So there has to be a step at every level to try and adjust for that. And I will argue that DEI at that level, being done before funding public schools for kids, actually is the wrong order to do that, but you still would need to do the DEI too.
Which, by the way, Evan, history here in the United States where we ended slavery, but we continued to oppress black people through things like redlining and blockbusting and denying loans and literacy tests and all these other things to keep them oppressed for a long time and make sure that they stayed in poor neighborhoods. And like Jimmy said, we base our education funding off of property taxes. So these poor neighborhoods will get poorer education and will have lower GPA values and will keep these people from being able to pursue higher education them better paying jobs. All of that shit that was supposed to be stopping around the civil rights movement. Charlie Kirk said that the civil rights movement was a terrible mistake and that black people were better off before all that happened in those segregation times, all that stuff, because they committed less crimes and were better under control. So again, he was a fucking racist.
Wow. I mean, okay, but so it's not true that Black America was actually doing better, say, economically or family ties-wise back then?
Extremely fucking no. And frankly, I don't care if they lost money by being free. They deserve to be fucking free.
The only reason they would have lost money is us, by the way. Like, you're describing, like,
yes.
If you could sit back and be like, was their quality of life better? Was there whatever in these situations, but they had less freedoms? If you're sitting here trying to present a conservative idea of more freedom is better, except for the people we like to subjugate, but some percentage of them we treat real nicely, that's fucking crazy from the onset. But let me ask you this, Evan.
Well, okay.
Evan, was Kamala Harris qualified?
Quickly?
She was what's that?
Can I just clarify my statement there? I just
Sure.
want to clarify because I feel like it came out wrong and I didn't get the whole thing.
It sounded pretty racist. Go ahead.
Super racist.
All right. Well, okay. So
clarify it.
They stopped redlining, right? At what time?
No. Redlining. There are laws
Banks
against
are still
redlining, but redlining still happens. They just have changed the way they do it.
Being sued
It's
for
the
it.
exact same thing you think with Charlie Kirk. He doesn't say down with the blacks, I hate those people. He presents it in a palatable way. But GI bills, education funds, and all those sorts of things are still being disproportionately given out to white people at a higher proportion than black people, even when the black people have the exact same qualifications. So redlining, anti-redlining laws are only in words, but not in spirit. Actually, has it gone away?
Is that like per capita though, like per percentage, or like is it still less, like by number, or
Correct.
is it by percentage?
It legitimately does not matter which way you take it. It ends up being in white people's favor.
Looks like there was a major redlining settlement just last fucking year. Banks are still being sued over this all the time.
Wow. Bankers, yeah.
That's why we say that there is still systemic racism and we still live in a racist country. The laws may have changed. The motherfuckers in charge did not.
I don't doubt there's plenty of racist people.
Well, then you would be against Charlie Kirk, who said the systemic racism didn't exist.
Evan, I want to ask you, if a person was going to run for president and they had been a senator and they had been an attorney general of a state, would you say that those are qualifications to be president? You don't have to agree with that person, but those are qualifications to be president.
Those are definitely some qualifications.
Sure. And
on
if
the
they
other
then
hand,
are also
how
vice
good were
president
they at that job?
Sure. And we'll go with agreed upon by their constituents that they did a good job, that they represented their people. Sure. They had a pretty decent approval rating. So now let's jump forward.
As a Democrat, you would elect someone that you want to represent you.
Sure.
Well, no,
again, we're not talking about Evan. We're not talking about whether you agree with them or not. Much like we used to do with Supreme Court justices. It used to be a Supreme Court justice was just evaluated on if they're qualified to be there, not if you agree with them, right? So a person who was an attorney general of a state, a person who was a senator, and a person who was a vice president was called by Charlie Kirk an unqualified DEI hire because she was a black woman, as opposed to Donald Trump, who actually has made most of his wealth since becoming president, and his wealth prior to becoming president actually underperformed what just putting it into like an investment fund would have done, and declared from his businesses record levels of bankruptcies. So Donald Trump, who was not a politician, was the qualified candidate, but the person who was a senator, who was an attorney general, who was a vice president, wasn't just someone I disagreed with, was not qualified to be president. I'm fine with the disagreement, not qualified to be president. Give me a good, not racist reason why she's not specifically qualified and is in fact a DEI candidate.
Well, I don't really know, to be honest. Like, as a Canadian, I haven't paid too much attention.
Well,
But
if you're
I've
going to
paid
say
enough
you don't think
attention
Charlie
to
Kirk was
know-
racist, you need to know what people who say he was are going to point to. Because when you don't, it sounds like you're not wrong, or rather that you are wrong, and you sound like it's because you're white and you don't see racism amongst other whites because you only understand like caricatured racism, things from like, if they're not in a Klan hood, they're not in the Klan kind of shit. And
Well-
if you're going to take these stances, I highly recommend you do a better job.
Okay, but one thing, I'd like to say, on behalf of Charlie Kirk, is when I did watch him, he would typically, it's crazy, he'd be arguing with black students that, no, you're not actually different than white people, If you were exactly the same as me culture-wise, you would be doing like exactly what I'm doing right now. You know what I mean? Like if you were raised exactly the same, like biologically, I guess is what I'm saying.
Evan,
There's
this
no
doesn't
difference
help. It
between
makes
black
it
and white
much
people.
worse. It makes it much worse that he can acknowledge that those things were true, but did not support policies to bring equity to their communities. In fact, supported the opposite. If he recognizes that we are genetically the same, that we in a lab are the same, that there aren't differences, but continues to support presidents and policies that keep black people disproportionately in poverty and in prisons, that's worse. Because it sort of is this type of cynical thing of like, but I recognize I'll get away with this because the natural urge a person has to be racist will make them not care about that, and we'll be able to once again funnel more money from the impoverished to the rich. And would still be racist, by the way. Acknowledge it doesn't make it not racist to acknowledge those things.
Also, just throwing this out there, when you talk about culture, I know you were paraphrasing, but speaking of culture, this is the same guy who said that his white Western European Christian culture is like the entire reason for civilization as well. So like he expected black people to be grateful that they were brought into civilization by people like him.
Well, I'm not going to lie. Looking at how people live in Africa, if I was black, I probably wouldn't still want to be there if I lived in America nowadays.
You mean the amazingly high? Do you mean the amazingly highly developed cities all across Africa, or do you mean like the little mud huts you see on National Geographic and assume these people are so stupid that they just can't do anything better? Which is what people usually say when they say dumb shit like that, Evan.
That's not what I'm thinking of.
Evan, there are lots of beautiful,
the amazingly developed cities. Some of them are amazingly developed. I'll give you that. Mm-hmm. Okay, but
and some places in America are amazingly developed.
What? It's funny that you
absolutely.
A lot of America is very impoverished,
right.
Evan.
Right, and the only reason you have a better image of it is because it's white poor people.
I 100% agree.
Right, and maybe
like,
certain parts of Africa, maybe certain parts of Africa wouldn't be so impoverished if they weren't like horribly colonized and had all of their natural resources stripped away from them. And a lot of governments in the global north were funding dictators and shit in these regions and squashing civil rebellion in these regions and making sure they stayed as poor as possible so they could be exploited. Kind of like we've done all over the rest of the world. But for you, it's very easy to look at these people and say, they're all just so poor and so terrible. What an awful government. While you live off of the fruits of their exploitation. You live in a wonderful place with wonderful privileges and a relatively very easy life because you benefit from their exploitation, and then you shame them for looking like they were exploited. That's the racism that Charlie Kirk promulgated that you clearly soaked up like a fucking sponge.
Yeah, so I am curious, Evan, if white culture is so superior and creates such better societies that would be worth more to be a part of, you'd want to be a part of, why was the several centuries, the 15th through 19th century, we started to decolonize in the 20th century, European colonization of Africa, why did it make it worse? Why did poverty rates go up? Why are these places destabilized after? Why do you still see famines there? Why do you still see destructured governments? Why, if it was so great, was decolonization necessary in the first place? And we didn't see like, yeah, look, we did it. We solved all their problems.
Well, do people in Africa have the same culture?
They had it forced on them for centuries. They had it forced on them for centuries.
Yes.
Granted, it was a sort of like peasant type of culture because they weren't treated as equals to whites.
It was basically feudalism, yes.
Right. But Evan, that was, previous.
Okay, so
that was in the past, so we can't be responsible for that. We just took all their resources, left them in poverty, and we're like, hey guys, sorry we did that. We're decolonizing now, so we're the good guys. But we're not going to get you back up on your feet. We're just going to abandon your asses. Do we bear any responsibility, the Europeans and their descendants? Is there no responsibility because enough time has passed? They should have found those bootstraps and lifted themselves by now? Well, this is a pregnant pause. Did we lose Evan?
I don't know, man. It annoys me that racists are the most fucking needy people in the entire world because they want a fucking gold star when they act halfway civilized after they fucking oppressed people for generations. It's like the world champion of puppy kicking wanting a fucking medal when he quits kicking puppies. It's so fucking stupid.
Evan, are you back?
And he's like, why are all these puppies walking weird? Look at them. They're assholes.
What, did I cut out?
Yeah, you were totally silent.
Yeah, we didn't hear you for a while.
I'm sorry. There's a big thunderstorm going on up here in Ontario, so
it happens.
Yeah. Anyways, where did I get cut off there?
You never responded to my thing about the colonization and whether or not there's any responsibility of the people who supposedly decolonized but left these places with tremendous poverty and no solutions to actually joining the modern industrial age.
Okay, yeah, I'll just repeat from the beginning, I guess. Then I said that yes, we are partially responsible, but at the same time, now that we're out of there, when did decolonization actually happen?
A lot of it through the 20th century. It's never history. First of all, it's never been finished, but a lot of what we're calling decolonization, which is white people feeling better about themselves. So we no longer have to talk about these places that we're omitting from our trade agreements and are leaving in disarray. But anyway, through the 20th century. Last century.
Yeah. So I guess what I'd say, it's not like a blanket statement over all of Africa because it's a big fucking place.
Whole last continent.
Yeah, it's a whole continent, right? But
and Donald Trump is in continent.
I guess what you would call decolonization, I guess. So I actually have a question, Bill, before I answer this. How did they decolonize? Like, did they just pull out and say, oh, it's all up to you guys now? Or did they, I guess, I don't want to say hand over control of the governments, Did they have governments set in place as kind of puppet governments? You know what I mean?
As you mentioned,
depends
Africa,
on the place.
Big ass place. So yeah, it depends on the place. And I'll tell you, it depends on the place, dependent on what resources were still there that we wanted a piece of. If there was gold and diamonds, those areas probably, at least for a while, had a little bit better agreements. That's turned out bad because, again, nobody looking at even videos, apparently, of black people dying in mines and shit there seemed to give much of a fuck. So they're like, wow, we can really treat them like garbage and get them to sell us all of their resources for cheap. We destabilize a continent, as we do. This is like what everybody calls in socialism's never worked. Actually, it's been working pretty good in a lot of places. And in America, every time capitalism fails, we save it with socialism. But America has destabilized everything that threatens their the appearance of how great they are when a socialist nation does start to look pretty damn good compared to them. It's anyway. We're gonna move on because we've
Yeah.
only got 26 minutes left and we have a couple calls.
Yeah, I would
All right,
I would
fair
just
enough.
encourage you just look up the rubber terror. Start there. Start with the genocide of King Leopold of Belgium when he went to the Congo and slaughtered, I believe it was over 10 million people, if I remember off the top of my head. Just and they used people's fucking hands as currency. They're chopping off hands left and right. Like, it just look that up and then ask yourself, this shit happens back and extends into the beginning of the 1900s. Now, how long do you expect it to take for this country to just whip itself up into the modern technological empire that you have there in Canada and just all by themselves? Even as if that was the case, as if we just left them the fuck alone after that, how do they just magically do these things? And then also grapple with the fact that that isn't what fucking happened at all. That they were continuously exploited, and to this day are continuously exploited. There is still genocide going on in Congo today, so that you can have the phone that you're calling into this show with. So, like, just think about it for a fucking
and electric
second,
cars too.
and then, think about it for a fucking second,
I hate the
and then
electric
maybe
vehicle mandate that Mark Carney's bringing in right now. Like,
and
Don't
Don't
then
pretend
maybe,
it's because of the Africans that you hate.
yeah, no, it's not that at all.
We're
But
getting
like,
on to a
just
new one
think
here.
about that for a second, and then next time you say something like, "Well, I wouldn't want to live in Africa. I mean, fuck, their culture's so bad." Maybe it'll ring a little bit more like what it actually is, which is just ethnocentrism.
And if you do bring it up,
Well,
do know I'm
can I
going to
just
want
say
to know
one
which
thing
specific
before I
culture,
go?
since we're kind of seeming to do an equivocation of ethnicity equals culture. And I think isn't it 2,500, 2,000 to 3,000 different ethnicities in Africa? So there is that little thing. There's several hundred
There's a lot
in
of
just
different
Nigeria.
cultures and ethnicities. But I just want to say one thing before I go. Okay. At the end of the day, culture makes the country. And regardless of whether, they were exploited or not, at the end of the day, when the white people leave and then I guess the natives start their own government and then they facilitate, I guess, they're using them. You know what I mean? Like when they facilitate that, it's their own
You're
people,
sounding
man.
off.
You know what I mean?
You are sounding awfully close to landing somewhere in between. Well, the Africans sold themselves into slavery, so slavery either wasn't that bad or not entirely our fault, and also something very close to Great
Slavery's
Replacement
terrible.
Theory shit. Very close to Great Replacement Theory shit, where it's like, yes, where like my culture is so superior, and that's why I have to protect it. Because these other people from these other cultures, these inferior cultures, are going to fuck shit up for me. Which, by the way, Charlie Kirk also advocated for the Great Replacement Theory, which is Nazi shit. You sound like you're right
Evan
in there.
just said, well, they did, though, to the black people sold themselves. As though if I sell Forrest into slavery, that's white people selling themselves, not me, the person in power on this channel, selling a person who has less power than me.
Slavery and the
Evan,
people
you
that
saying
sold people into
absolutely is
slavery.
very laughable. People in power
It's like the whole black on black
sold
crime
Africans who didn't have power, exploited the powerless Africans. So for the record, those guys are just as shitty and evil as the American cultural slavery. But that doesn't mean Africans are just as shitty as evil, because they weren't selling literally themselves. The people with the power to sell slaves did it. And it's kind of another problem with capitalism. It leads to slavery. Evan, we got to go. We got 22 minutes left.
It's just getting worse, Evan.
Thank you, Evan. They did. Nate in Florida, you are on the line with Jimmy and Forrest. Nate in Florida is MAGA and wants to defend being MAGA. Go for it, Nate.
Yeah, I mean, first, I don't see how Charlie Kirk being suspended was a violation of freedom of speech.
Charlie Kirk was suspended? Who suspended Charlie Kirk?
I mean, not Charlie Kirk, but Jimmy Kimmel.
Because the government made it happen and threatened a private company, which is basically like just fascism 101. You could start
Did they threaten him again after they reinstated him?
We don't know if that's going to happen yet or not, but clearly, Nate, Nate. Clearly, that has all happened since now Tucker Carlson, Ted Cruz, and other Republicans, not that many, have said, hey, that's actually not good, and we won't like that we did that when the Democrats get back into power. But Nate, it actually wouldn't matter if that's the case anyway, because even just suspending him for a week would be a violation of freedom of speech if it was because the government threatened it.
I also want to point out, like, the key here, it's not just that happened. Also, Donald Trump came out and defended those actions later on and said, when you have these news organizations that all they do is just say negative things about me, they shouldn't have a license. They shouldn't be allowed to do that. That's literally the definition of freedom of the press.
Right.
And then also when they did bring Jimmy Kimmel back, I believe the initial statement was that they're going to bring him back as long as he tones down the political rhetoric, and then they walked that back as well pretty quickly. So, yes, it was still continuing on even after they brought him back for a brief moment. If I remember correctly, it was to protect the airwaves and make sure that people weren't just spreading really I don't know the word for it, but like insensitive and obscene things, and also to maintain fairness. They wanted the whole like equal time for both sides thing.
Yeah, swear words and titties and equal time on political debates.
Networks on that the FCC regulate.
Excuse me, what was the question?
What are the 3 major cable networks that the FCC regulates?
You tell me.
Are there only 3?
There's more. I mean, they regulate everybody, but the 3
main
ones.
So
you're asking for a specific 3, but it is more. So you give us the ones that you want us to be talking about.
I mean, they regulate anyone on. Right, they regulate everybody.
Right. So what are the ones that
you're
talking about?
So what are the 3 you want to bring up?
The 3 main ones that they regulate or initially regulated is MSNBC, which we all know how they lean. Right.
It does not say that they're not allowed to lean, for the record. The FCC is not.
It doesn't. But is it fair if they only hire people that lean that way?
They don't only hire people that lean that way.
Ask Fox News.
Well done.
So
ask Newsmax.
Who sits at a desk as the main person that is a conservative for that network?
I don't know. I couldn't tell you who sits at the desk at NBC that are left, but I know that there are no accusations.
That's the problem.
I don't watch MSNBC. I don't watch hack modern day news. That shit's nonsense. But whether or not it is a violation of freedom of speech to try and censor specific speech you don't like is nothing to do with your thing about Charlie Kirk, has nothing to do with whether or not it's balanced over there. And again, the FCC doesn't get to say you aren't allowed to lean one way, but when you have a debate, when you have certain things, you need to have the opposition well represented. And that's even going to have limits too, because again, freedom of press, you can't say, for example, somebody's coming out as a conspiracy theorist and you have all these people who are anti-vax. You don't get equal time to anti-vax, which is anti-fact, because somebody took that side. You are making up and you're trying to take these regulations and give the broadest application to them. But every time these things come to the Supreme Court, they get fucking slapped out because it is freedom of press and it is freedom of speech.
Can we agree though, because you brought up anti-vax, that basically came about during, I mean, obviously it's always been used as a term, but that came about more predominantly during the COVID vaccination. They labeled people that weren't comfortable getting
I would say no.
the COVID
more
vaccination.
People were louder.
I mean, I'm not saying it wasn't a thing before that, but I'm saying
people became anti-vax during COVID. Sure. If that's what you're asking, more people became anti-vax during COVID.
That's a violation of freedom to someone who may not want to get that vaccine. Everyone's calling them anti-vax.
It depends on what the threat is. If you want access to public spaces with public people, rejecting your ability to infect other people who are immunocompromised or whatever is not a violation. Because if they said they were going to put you in prison for it, and by the way, businesses weren't penalized for not enforcing those things.
Wait, hold on.
If you are going to be put in prison for not vaccinating, that's one thing.
They would be impoverished, which would lead to violence.
If the government says I'm going to fire you, I'm going to get you fired from that restaurant, but they didn't even do that. Individual companies made those.
Firefighters are government institutions, and they definitely fire
those are
people.
Federal employees. You, as a federal employee, do not have freedom of speech. That's literally fundamental. As a cop, you can't just say anything.
Nate, can you please point to me? You
don't have
to bring up a specific time in your life. Can you just tell me, have you ever been loudly and strongly against mandatory vaccinations for public schools?
Have I? I don't. I mean,
Yes.
not all vaccinations, but I never believed in the flu shot personally.
Right. So
And that was before
in
COVID.
order to go to
Yeah.
public school, in all 50 states, there is some sort of a vaccine requirement. I'm pretty sure they're largely the same, but I can say for sure here in Oklahoma, like, for example, you have to have meningitis vaccination in order to go to high school here.
Right.
Do you think that that's a
Right.
good thing?
I don't know. And I mean, I'll use y'all's term. I'm not a biologist, but no, I'm just kidding. Honestly, I don't know. I haven't looked into it to know if benefits outweigh
in this scenario, you're willing to just say you don't know a thing. Meanwhile, if you were to take a hardline stance on this, you could argue that by denying children the opportunity to go to public school, if they don't want to take this vaccine, you are putting them at higher risk of poverty because they're homeschooled, they don't get a good education, blah, blah, blah. You can make the exact same argument, and it means the exact same nothing. Because at the end of the day, this is a mandate that is keeping these kids safe, using a safe and effective and tested and proven medication. Something that works really well and making sure that meningitis doesn't spread and doesn't kill children. And so now if we extend that and we say, here's this job, like, say, a doctor or a nurse or a government contractor where you're going to be around a lot of people, and we want you to have a certain level of protection so you don't put people at risk who cannot get this protection, immunocompromised people, old people, super young people, whatever. You're stopping the spread of a deadly pathogen. They have that in place to say you have to have this vaccine, just like the military does, just like lots of other companies and government institutions do and have for a long time. They add this one new vaccine onto that registry to say you have to have this in order to work here. No one is threatening those people with jail time, with corporal punishment, with anything. They're just saying, if you don't do this, you can't work here. And you can make the same dumbass argument to say, well, you're putting them at risk of poverty, blah, blah, blah. They could go get another job. They could go work at Pizza Hut where somebody doesn't fucking care. But they have to have this vaccine for this job. They have to have this vaccine to go to this school.
Right?
Wow. So you just ignored everything he just said, because he literally said that this is for the protection of people who cannot get vaccinated. This is the protection for the people who are immunocompromised. By the way, if you don't get vaccinated and you are even around vaccinated people, you are creating many more opportunities for the evolution of that virus to get around. Excuse me, Nate, I'm not done talking. And this is why I know you aren't listening, because you ignored exactly what Forrest said. That was the counter to the point you just made. It's like the argument happened in reverse.
My response.
And now in taking on the actual thing you're saying, you're also not listening because you're trying to talk over. If you would just listen, you would avoid seeming so stupid when you make a point that has already been countered in the sentence prior. Excuse me, Nate? What?
I said I was responding to him, and then you just started over talking me.
I get to overtalk you. I get to overtalk you.
Right. But he did that because you clearly didn't listen to anything that I said.
You had begun talking in a way that showed you weren't listening, and so I cut you off to make this conversation much more productive. And in getting the correction where you immediately say something that shows you weren't listening, you don't even listen to that, and you're talking over. And that happens because you're here on our show, and we're going to facilitate actually useful conversations.
Same thing the FCC did to Jimmy Kimmel by silencing them. Right?
No, I'm not, Nate. Hey, Nate. Hey, Nate. 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 Nate.
Just said yes.
Hey, Nate.
What are you talking about?
How am I going to get you fired?
I could be starting my podcast. I could get famous off of being featured on your podcast.
So you have to make up some kind of bullshit. And now everyone who calls in, it is only freedom of speech if they have the ability to get famous off of coming on my podcast.
I'm not trying to get famous. I was just using it as an example.
A really stupid example. I had to go with 3 realies there.
Jimmy explaining to you that you should probably listen to the things that are being said to you is not violating your free speech, because he's not a government entity threatening you with legal action. I don't get how this is so fucking hard for MAGA to figure out. Anytime anybody doesn't let you spew your bullshit, that's not violating your First Amendment right. Sorry.
Right. It's only if the government... Nate, if you told me where you work right now, and I called them and said, listen to this call and then fire that guy, or else I'm going to put you guys on blast, I might be a douchebag. I might be a douchebag, but that would not be a violation of your freedom of speech, because I am not a government agent. I am not a government entity.
But you have every right
freedom
to do that.
Correct. The government doesn't. And what happened to Jimmy Kimmel was a bigger tragedy than what happened to Charlie Kirk, because it affects all of our rights, as opposed to one crazy asshole killed another crazy in a different way asshole. It shouldn't have happened. I condemn murder, but that doesn't guarantee that I'm going to get killed by a crazy asshole, even though it maybe increases the odds. The FCC doing that is the beginning of a slippery slope that they have already been on. They've already been going down the slope to silence people like me. And they're doing it this week, labeling this concept of an organization of Antifa as a terrorist organization when that doesn't exist as an organization. But now they can call anybody who's anti-fascist Antifa and call them a terrorist. It is part of a pattern to silence the speech that they don't like, that is against Donald Trump, who is the most incompetent and corrupt president to ever do the goddamn job.
So based on what you just said,
So you're
I'm
telling
assuming
me
that you're against all governments that do that. Like, as far as whether it's on the left or the right, you're against it.
First of all, we don't
Right.
have a
Very
real
yes.
left in America, but yes, the government telling a company that you must silence this speech that I don't like, or we will basically bury your company. We will take away its abilities to make profit. Yeah, I would be against that.
So when the Biden administration told Mark Zuckerberg to take down certain posts,
And the Trump
Or-
administration, don't forget, they both did it. Now,
No, Trump
tell me,
administration also
that's
did
what I'm saying.
Sure,
I'm just
sure,
saying be
Nate,
consistent. That's all I'm saying. 'Cause you keep
Nate,
saying MAGA is not
now,
it's the
Nate,
American
what
government.
threat, because they actually talked about it, and Mark Zuckerberg has been very clear, what threat came with that? The Biden administration said, hey, these posts are misinformation. We recommend that you do not promote them. Remember, these people weren't necessarily removed. Most of their things just got demoted, so they weren't shown to as many people, but they still existed on the platform. So if you were following these people, you still saw them. They said, this is misinformation. This is Russian meddling. This is whatever. What threat,
Malinformation, which is true,
what threat, Nate, did they issue Mark Zuckerberg if he didn't take those things down?
I'm sure it has something to do with government funding. Because
No, the answer is nothing. There was no
Zero.
threat
You
You
attached.
don't know that. You
Yes,
don't
I
know
do.
that. So what
Well,
did Biden-
it's out of Mark
so tell me
Zuckerberg's
exactly
own
what Biden
mouth,
told
and
him.
even Jim Jordan's little report
So
has no
hold on,
accusation of
hold
a
on.
threat. So you're saying I don't know that, but it's your example of a time that it was wrong, which
Also-
means you do know the opposite is true, so you must have the evidence that there was a threat.
Just to be clear, your argument is, but they might have done it, and I'm assuming they did.
Just the government
once it-
alone telling you not
as-
to do something or to do something is a threat because of the power that the government holds. Whether
Specifically-
they have to come out their mouth and say, I'm going to do this.
Specifically, what the government did was identify when people had done things that was against Facebook's own policy that they saw as a public interest to make sure Facebook was aware of. They did not threaten the Facebook with action if they didn't remove those things. They said, hey, here's your own policy. These people are violating it, and it is harming the spread of misinformation. And Facebook decided to take those things down, and has now said they feel like there was more pressure than there should have been, that the amount of things that they were told shouldn't have been told, but they weren't threatened at any point if they hadn't. And at the end of the day, they are the ones who decided what to take down.
So when your parents, I'm basing off the.
Yes,
not
you're now going
having
to try to
say it's
resort to a
threat.
super dumbed down metaphor to try and make it work, and it's not going to.
No. It's like
I
when
really-
your
I
parents
can't get
tell
it.
you to do something because they have power over you, you end up doing it.
Mhm.
They don't have to necessarily
So-
threaten you. If they tell you to
so the
take out
issue-
the
so the
trash, they don't say
issue-
I'm going to take away your phone, but they just say take out the trash.
So the
You go take out
issue
trash.
isn't.
But if they do threaten
issue
you, it's a
isn't
bigger
that-
problem.
So just to be clear, when we're talking about Jimmy Kimmel here, the government actually threatened an agency to do something to take down speech that they didn't like, and Trump followed up with that
Did
by
they
saying
threaten them, or
we
did they
should
do
do
it the
that to
easy way or the
news
hard
organ.
way?
That's
Nate,
the
I don't
dumbest
say
response.
the R word publicly. I just want to make sure you know that.
But
You
you
can
have
call me
the
retarded
government
if you want.
saying
I'm glad someone
the government coming in and saying you must take down this speech that we don't like. Trump following that up and saying all news organizations should have their licenses revoked if they say negative things about me, and we shouldn't allow people to just say whatever they want about me. That should be illegal. And your response is, well, what about this other time when they didn't do that, but they may have implied that that's possible because they're so big and scary, like a parent. Like, I don't get how
Because
you
y'all
don't
were just
understand
loud
how
when they
this
did this.
this literally is the meme of when you have like the Republican painting a scary picture and then being terrified of the scary picture they painted.
We
You
weren't
were
as loud when
inventing
they
a
did it
situation
because they didn't do it.
because they didn't do it.
And by even in
You
your
were
example
inventing a
of
scary
the
situation
parent,
to be scared of.
even in your example of the parent, Nate, if the parent says, I want you to take out the trash, and the kid doesn't do it, and the parent goes, dang, I wish you would have, though. I wanted you to. I wish you would have. No violation there. But if the parent says, I want you to take out the trash, and if you don't, I'll stab you in the throat, that's a crime. That you're not allowed to do. And that, when the government does it, is breaking the Constitution and is infringing on people's free speech things. You go in the, we can do it the hard way or the easy way, and ignoring all of the other things that Carr had said, ignoring all of the things that Trump had said, and ignoring then when it happened that both Carr and Trump took credit for it. But you're going to sit there and be like, well, it was an implication. You know, Don Corleone never said he was going to break your legs. He said it'd be really sad if something happened to your legs right now. That's the example Ted Cruz, by the way, explained this with, who's not exactly on my side on many things. Nate, you are you are genuinely stupid, but then when it comes to your point being obviously wrong, you actually pretend to be even more stupid than you are. And this is why I wish you'd stop voting.
You want to take away my right to vote? That's very democratic of you.
Oh my
Nate, is that
God,
what I just said?
I actually didn't think
is
he was
that
going
what
to do it.
Is that
I didn't think he
is
was
that
gonna
actually
do
what
it.
I said? Did I say I want to take away your right to vote, or do I say I wish
you
you
said
would
I
not
should.
vote?
You said I should stop voting.
Correct. You
I
should.
bet you do.
Nate,
Y'all got whooped, and y'all about to get whooped in the midterms.
Nate, you should stop voting. I'm not saying you must stop voting. I'm not saying I'm going to remove from you the right to vote. I'm saying I wish you would not vote because you are too stupid to participate in a good faith way, in a way that it's not even for just my sake, Nate. You're voting against your own best interest. You are so bad at this and you are so dumb that you are voting things that are going to make your future worse too. That's how bad this is, Nate.
How?
How? The tariffs are already fucking you. Costs of groceries are already continuing to climb. You're still paying for genocide that they promised we'd be ending. Excuse me, prices for groceries was higher under Biden? Are you insane? No, they were not.
I am 100%
we have not
correct.
yet
Yes,
accepted. We have not yet hit deflation.
The price of eggs wasn't higher before January.
Oh,
than after.
that's very cute that you're going to go specific. By the way, I don't know, eggs may be up or down, but groceries in general is not a singular food. And your overall costs are going up. Your small businesses are getting fucked while large businesses are getting able to grow because of the tariffs. By the way, the inflation that you want to blame Biden for, despite the fact that it actually has to do with two things, the way Donald Trump absolutely bungled the COVID response and the tried and true demonstrated actual effects of exploding the deficit with overreaching tax cuts that happen on a multi-year delay, which is why Republicans love doing them, because they can cut them now, get a temporary boost to what they call the economy, and then the effects will have to be the next president, who's often going to be a Democrat, a thing that we already know. If you explode the deficit, inflation gets fucked. And Donald Trump did that by cutting taxes and bungling the COVID thing. Even the thing you want to blame Biden for, which I'll blame Biden for a lot. He was a shitty president and he deserves to be in fucking prison for a lot of the things he did. But the specific things you want to blame Biden for, you don't even know how they fucking work. And this is why I wish you would stop voting.
That makes you just gave no points. You just rattled a bunch of stuff.
Nate, your inability to grasp concepts which are communicated to you do not have anything to do with the concepts communicated. Once again, you were just too dumb to get it.
Man, that has no basis, and then you just try to build off that point.
It's adorable.
Nate, do you think the
just
Nate,
like
do you think the right
evolutionist?
Nate, do you think the right to due process
he just
is a good?
unironically said evolutionist when we only have 2 minutes to go.
Do you think the right to due process is a good thing?
We could talk about it in 2 minutes. If evolution was real, why is everything changing to something different? Why
If
wouldn't everybody be
evolution
moving
is
towards
real,
the
why
same
is
thing?
evolution happening?
Nate, do you think
Where
the
is
right
it
to due
happening? Show
process
me
is
an
a good thing?
example of a monkey that turned into a human.
So correct, you
You're an
don't
idiot.
actually
I'm-
understand
And why
what
did the rest
evolution
of the,
You don't
why
know-
would the rest
so,
of the
yeah.
monkeys?
Nate, I beg
It's
you to
natural
call back
selection,
next
first
time.
of
I
all.
don't even
It's
have to be
natural
an
selection.
evolutionary
It's natural
biologist like
selection.
Forrest to show you how stupid what you just said was. Call back next time with Forrest and I, or
call
either
me.
of us individually.
And to let you know,
I think I'm coming
just
up on the
my
next
last
Skep Talk,
point,
aren't
I am a small business.
I don't care. I actually muted you. You don't get to just railroad and ignore the same things we're saying. I'm also a small business owner. If you don't know the tariffs are fucking you, then you're another level of stupid I wasn't prepared for. Or you're a liar. You know that the tariffs are fucking all of us. Go ahead, Forrest.
Nate, I'm on a show called Skep Talk on Monday. I'm also on a show called The Sunday Show After Dark this Sunday. Both of those are over on the Line channel. I'm a fucking biologist, and I would love for you to call in and just define the word evolution. I wanted to ask you if you think that the right to due process is important. I don't think you know what that is. So I don't think we're going to get anywhere in the 1 minute that we have left in the show.
Maybe we'll do another Calling It Now this weekend or something too. Nate, you suck at this more than everybody else who sucked at it. And so far, people have really sucked at it. Tracy,
we literally had a fucking
JJ, we're here.
Defending racism earlier on.
You're down there looking up at bullshit.
Point.
What'd you say?
I said we had that fucking guy defending racism on earlier on. At least he could follow a point. I literally, when you said to Nate that like you should stop voting, I was about to grab my whiteboard and write, "Are you saying you don't want me to vote?" And like say, "This is my prediction." What he's going to say. And I was like, "No way I have time for that." Yeah. I was like, "There's no way I have time to do that." Whatever. And sure the fuck enough, the next thing he said was, "Oh, so you want me to stop voting? You want to take away my rights?" Yeah. Nate is the fucking meme of a Republican who draws a scary face on a piece of paper and then freaks the fuck out about the scary face.
Yeah.
And says the scary face is coming for his guns. Like, it is so fucking stupid.
Go find Forrest Valkai on YouTube and now go watch Chewed Gum. Do it, people. I'm telling you to. Daddy insists.